You had that word on the tip of your tongue? You walked into a room and forgot why you went there? You read the same paragraph 3 times and still could not hold on to it? You told yourself it is just aging. Everyone forgets things. It is normal. But here is what I need you to understand right now. The kind of memory loss most people over 60 are experiencing, the foggy thinking, the slow recall, the brain that feels like it is working through wet cement, is not simply the inevitable result of getting older. A significant portion of it is being caused directly by specific foods that millions of seniors eat every single day without any idea what those foods are doing to their brain. I am going to name those foods today. I am going to tell you exactly what they are doing inside your brain at a cellular level. And I am going to tell you what you can do starting today to stop the damage and give your brain the best possible chance to recover. My name is Dr. Michael Kent. I have spent over 20 years practicing medicine with a focus on senior health, and the connection between diet and cognitive decline is something I have become deeply focused on, because the research in this area over the last decade has been genuinely alarming, not because memory loss is unavoidable, but because so much of it is preventable, and so few people are being told that. Subscribe to this channel if you are not already here. I post new senior health videos every week, and please share this video with someone over 60 who deserves to know this information. Let us start with the first food, and I want to warn you right now, this one is going to surprise you, because it is not junk food. It is not something you would look at and immediately think is unhealthy. In fact, most people consider it a perfectly reasonable part of a balanced diet. The first food that is quietly destroying memory after 60 is white bread, and more broadly, all highly refined grain products. White bread, white rice, regular pasta, crackers, most breakfast cereals, pastries, muffins, and anything else made with refined white flour. Here is what these foods are doing to your brain. Refined grain products have what is called a high glycemic index. This means they are digested and converted into glucose extremely rapidly, far faster than your body was designed to handle. When you eat a piece of white bread, your blood sugar spikes sharply within 30 to 45 minutes. Your pancreas responds by releasing a surge of insulin to clear that glucose from your bloodstream. Your blood sugar then drops, sometimes below baseline, and you experience that familiar mid-morning or mid-afternoon crash, that foggy, sluggish, unfocused feeling that so many seniors experience after meals. But the damage goes much deeper than a temporary energy crash. Over years and decades of repeated blood sugar spikes, something begins to happen in the brain that researchers are now calling type 3 diabetes. This is not an official clinical diagnosis. It is a term that some scientists have begun using to describe a specific pattern of insulin resistance that develops in the brain itself. Here's what that means. Your brain cells, neurons, require insulin signaling to function properly. Insulin helps neurons absorb glucose for energy. It supports the formation of new memories by facilitating communication between brain cells, and it plays a role in clearing away the amyloid proteins that accumulate between neurons and are associated with Alzheimer's disease. When the brain becomes insulin resistant, when neurons stop responding properly to insulin signals, all of these processes begin to break down. Neurons become less efficient, memory formation becomes impaired, and the clearance of harmful proteins slows down. A landmark study published in the journal Diabetologia followed over 5,000 adults over a period of 10 years and found that people with chronically elevated blood sugar, even at levels that did not meet the clinical definition of diabetes, showed significantly faster cognitive decline than people with stable blood sugar. The relationship was dose-dependent, meaning the higher the average blood sugar, the faster the cognitive decline. Every time you eat refined white flour products and spike your blood sugar, you are contributing to the process that study was measuring. Meal after meal, year after year, the cumulative effect on your brain after 60 is profound. The solution is not to eliminate carbohydrates entirely. It is to replace refined grains with whole grains, foods where the fiber, bran, and germ are intact and where glucose is released slowly and steadily rather than in a rapid spike. Whole grain bread, brown rice, steel-cut oats, quinoa, legumes. These foods feed your brain without creating the insulin dysregulation that damages it. The second food that destroys memory after 60 is one that most people are completely shocked to hear about. Because it is marketed as health food, it is sold in health stores. Many seniors have been told by well-meaning friends and family that it is good for them. The second food is margarine and anything containing partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, also known as trans fats. I want to be careful here because the regulatory status of trans fats has changed significantly in recent years. Partially hydrogenated oils were officially banned from the food supply in the United States in 2018, but there are several important things you need to understand about why this is still relevant. First, foods manufactured before the ban can still legally be sold until existing stock runs out. Second, the ban applies only to partially hydrogenated oils, not to the small amounts of trans fats that occur naturally in some animal products, and not to the industrially produced trans fats that can still appear under different names on food labels. Third, and most importantly, many people over 60 spent decades, their 40s, 50s, and early 60s, consuming significant amounts of trans fats before the ban. And the neurological damage caused by trans fat consumption does not simply disappear when you stop eating them. Here is what trans fats do to the brain specifically. Trans fats are incorporated into the cell membranes of neurons in place of the healthy fats that should be there, primarily omega-3 fatty acids. Your brain is approximately 60% fat by dry weight. The quality of the fats in your diet directly determines the quality of the fats in your brain cell membranes, and the quality of those membranes directly determines how efficiently your neurons communicate with each other. When trans fats replace healthy fats in neuronal membranes, those membranes become stiffer, less fluid, and less capable of the rapid, flexible signaling that underlies learning and memory. Synapses, the junctions between neurons where signals are transmitted, function less efficiently, and inflammation increases because trans fats are among the most potent dietary triggers of neuroinflammation known to science. A study published in the journal Neurology found that people with the highest blood levels of trans fats had significantly worse memory performance, smaller brain volume, and higher rates of cognitive decline compared to people with low trans fat levels. The association was independent of other risk factors including age, education level, and cardiovascular disease. Check your pantry right now. Look at the labels on your crackers, your microwave popcorn, your frozen meals, your coffee creamers, your packaged baked goods. Look for the words partially hydrogenated oil anywhere in the ingredient list. If you see it, throw it away. It does not belong in your diet and it does not belong in your brain. The third food is one that almost no one suspects. It is something that has been recommended to seniors for decades as a heart-healthy alternative. It sits in nearly every kitchen in the country, and new research suggests it may be doing significant damage to the aging brain. The third food is vegetable and seed oils, specifically corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, and canola oil when used in high-heat cooking. Let me explain the science carefully because this is nuanced and I do not want to overstate it. These oils are extremely high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids. Omega-6 fats are not inherently harmful. They are essential nutrients that your body requires. The problem is the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats in the modern diet. In a traditional diet, humans consumed omega-6 and omega-3 fats in roughly equal amounts, a ratio of approximately 1:1, or at most 4:1. In the modern Western diet, that ratio has shifted to somewhere between 15:1 and 20:1 in favor of omega-6. This matters enormously for the brain because omega-6 and omega-3 fats are metabolized by the same enzymatic pathways. When omega-6 fats overwhelm these pathways, they compete directly with omega-3 fats, particularly DHA, the omega-3 that is the primary structural fat in brain tissue. Less DHA in the brain means less efficient neuronal signaling, more neuroinflammation, and impaired memory formation. But the problem with vegetable oils goes beyond the omega-6 ratio. When these oils are heated to cooking temperatures, particularly during frying and high-heat sautéing, the polyunsaturated fats they contain oxidize rapidly and form a class of toxic compounds called aldehydes. Specifically, a compound called 4-hydroxynonenal, or 4-HNE, which has been shown in multiple studies to accumulate in brain tissue and cause direct damage to neurons. Research published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found elevated levels of 4-HNE in the brain tissue of Alzheimer's patients compared to age-matched controls, suggesting a direct link between oxidized vegetable oil consumption and the neurological changes associated with dementia. Replace high omega-6 vegetable oils with extra virgin olive oil for low to medium heat cooking and with avocado oil for high heat cooking. Both of these oils have very different fatty acid profiles and significantly greater stability at cooking temperatures. The fourth food is one that I want to address very carefully, because I am not suggesting you eliminate it entirely, and because the evidence here is specifically about excessive consumption in seniors rather than moderate intake. The fourth food is alcohol, specifically more than 1 drink per day for women over 60 and more than 2 drinks per day for men over 60. I know that many people have heard that moderate alcohol consumption, particularly red wine, has cardiovascular benefits. And there is some evidence supporting that, though it has been significantly challenged in recent years by larger and better designed studies. But what the research on alcohol and the aging brain consistently shows is that the threshold at which alcohol shifts from neutral to actively harmful for cognitive function is lower after 60 than it is at younger ages. Here is why. After 60, the brain's ability to repair alcohol-related neuronal damage declines. The liver's capacity to metabolize alcohol efficiently also declines, which means the same amount of alcohol produces higher blood alcohol levels in a 65-year-old than it would in a 40-year-old of the same weight. And alcohol directly interferes with the sleep architecture of older adults, reducing the deep, slow-wave sleep and REM sleep that are essential for memory consolidation. The memories formed during the day are processed, organized, and stored during specific stages of sleep. Alcohol suppresses those stages. Even 1 or 2 drinks in the evening consistently degrade the quality of sleep in ways that meaningfully impair next-day memory and cognitive performance. Long-term excessive alcohol consumption is also directly associated with shrinkage of the hippocampus, the brain region most critical for forming new memories and the first region typically damaged in Alzheimer's disease. A study published in the British Medical Journal found that even moderate drinking, defined as 14 to 21 units per week, was associated with hippocampal atrophy and white matter damage compared to abstainers. If you enjoy a glass of wine with dinner, I am not telling you to stop. I am telling you to be honest with yourself about how much you are actually drinking, because most people significantly underestimate their alcohol intake, and to understand that after 60, the brain is less resilient to its effects. The fifth food is perhaps the most insidious on this list. Because it is hidden, it is in foods that do not taste sweet, it is in foods marketed as healthy, and it is consumed in quantities that most seniors would be genuinely shocked to discover. The fifth food is added sugar. Specifically, the high quantities of added sugar found in processed and packaged foods that most people do not recognize as sugary. Pasta sauce, bread, salad dressing, flavored yogurt, protein bars, canned soups, fruit juices, sports drinks. Even many so-called health foods contain significant amounts of added sugar under names most people do not recognize. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, evaporated cane juice, fruit concentrate, agave nectar, and dozens of other names that all mean the same thing: added sugar. The average American adult consumes approximately 17 teaspoons of added sugar per day. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 6 teaspoons per day for women and 9 for men. Most seniors are consuming nearly 3 times the recommended amount without realizing it, and what that excess sugar does to the brain is devastating. Sugar drives neuroinflammation through multiple pathways simultaneously. It promotes the formation of advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which are compounds formed when sugar molecules bind to proteins throughout the body, including in brain tissue, causing structural damage and inflammation. It feeds the overgrowth of harmful gut bacteria that produce inflammatory compounds which cross the blood-brain barrier and directly damage neurons. And it drives the insulin resistance cascade that I described in detail when discussing refined grains. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that higher dietary sugar intake was independently associated with poorer performance on tests of memory, learning, and executive function in adults over 60, even after controlling for overall caloric intake, body weight, and other dietary factors. The solution begins with reading labels, not the front of the package, which is marketing, but the nutrition facts panel and the ingredient list. Look for total added sugars on the nutrition facts panel. Look for any of the 50-plus names for sugar in the ingredient list. Choose whole foods over packaged foods wherever possible. Cook from scratch more often. And when you do buy packaged products, choose versions with 5 grams or less of added sugar per serving. Let me bring all of this together. 5 foods that are quietly destroying memory after 60. Refined grain products that spike blood sugar and drive insulin resistance in the brain. Trans fats and partially hydrogenated oils that replace healthy fats in neuronal membranes and trigger neuroinflammation. High omega-6 vegetable and seed oils that disrupt the omega-3 to omega-6 balance and generate toxic aldehydes when heated. Alcohol consumed above the age-appropriate threshold that degrades sleep quality and causes hippocampal shrinkage, and hidden added sugars that drive age formation, gut dysbiosis, and systemic neuroinflammation. None of these foods are causing immediate dramatic damage that you can see and feel in the way that a heart attack or a stroke can. They are causing slow, cumulative, largely invisible damage that compounds year after year. Damage that most people only notice when it has been building for a decade or more. Damage that shows up not as a single catastrophic event, but as a gradual dimming. A brain that is slightly slower today than it was last year, slightly foggier this year than it was 5 years ago. But here is the most important thing I can tell you. That damage is not irreversible. The brain is not a static organ. It is one of the most dynamic and adaptable structures in the human body. Research in neuroplasticity has shown consistently that the brain retains remarkable capacity for recovery and regeneration well into the 7th, 8th, and even 9th decade of life when given the right conditions. Removing these 5 foods from your diet is one of the most powerful things you can do to create those conditions. Not next month, not after your next physical. Starting with your next meal, your brain is not finished, but it needs you to stop feeding it the things that are holding it back. Please leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 foods surprised you the most, and which one are you going to remove from your diet first? I read every comment and I reply to as many as I can. If this video was valuable to you, share it with someone over 60 in your life who deserves to know this information. Because the earlier these dietary changes happen, the more of a difference they make. Subscribe to this channel for weekly senior health videos grounded in real research and real clinical experience. No hype, no miracle claims, just the honest information your health deserves. I am Dr. Michael Kent. Thank you for being here today. Feed your brain well, because it has a lot more work left to do. I will see you in the next one.